welcome to this video. I tend to ask myself when I'm making my videos, who is this for? Is this for somebody who is looking for more motivation to pick up a paintbrush, or is it for somebody who is trying to make a business from their artwork? And honestly, this video that you're about to watch is for me. Honestly feels like a visual diary entry for me, and kind of like a gift to myself that I can look back on fondly in the years to come. But that being said, I obviously made it for you too, otherwise I wouldn't be publicly putting it on the internet. So I hope that it brings you peace and it brings you inspiration, because that's what it did for me. And honestly, I was going to combine this video with some art making because I am currently working on a painting that's inspired by this trip, but I just had so much to show you, and for this painting I have so much that I want to discuss that it just was not possible to fit it all in one video. So you'll just have to wait a bit to see the art that came out of this incredible adventure in Algonquin Park. Now that I'm living in Vienna, my visits back home have become very precious. And one thing I've noticed is that besides family and friends, obviously, what I miss the most is the Canadian wilderness. So during our visit this past August, my husband and I made a plan to do our longest backcountry canoe trip yet. 5 days and over 60 kilometers through Ontario's oldest and largest provincial park. We took a water taxi across Lake Opiongo, which saved us an entire day's paddle since it's a humongous lake. And after a 1,400 meter portage, we were finally on the water. River travel is my favorite because there's always so much to look at. You can get a close look at the frogs and the fish, and I was absolutely loving the water lilies and pickerel weed in full bloom. It was all so peaceful. Until our 4-kilometer portage, which almost broke us. If you don't know what portaging means, it's when you carry all your stuff, including your canoe, through the forest to get from one lake to another when there's no water access. And it can be very challenging, especially on the first day when your food weight is heaviest, when the elevation change is like a roller coaster, it's super hot and humid, and the mosquitoes are attempting to take your life.
Oh, the bugs are bad.
We could only take short breaks along the way because if we stopped for too long, we would lose half a liter of blood. I can honestly say I have never been so physically exhausted in my entire life. When we reached the end of this portage, I walked directly into the water and was ready for the lake to swallow me whole. Needless to say, after a 20-kilometer voyage on our first day, we were absolutely beat by the time we reached our campsite. So we took a swim to cool off, had some dinner, and were asleep in our tent by 7 p.m. But one of the perks of going to bed so early is that it makes it a lot easier to wake up for sunrise. And we were off to our next campsite on Lake Lemure. Finding the perfect tent spot is an important part of the adventure. And so is making everything comfy cozy when it's time to turn in for the night. Because I unfortunately had a lot of editing to do while we were back in Canada, my honey bunny basically planned and prepped for this entire trip. He planned the route, made sure we didn't overpack, and prepared all our meals. He cooked and dehydrated a bunch himself, but for convenience sake, we also bought some of these food packs, which were honestly pretty good.
Honestly, the beef rehydrated better than I thought it would.
And obviously, when the sun started going down, it was time to make a fire. And bust out our s'more supplies. But first, I had to make the perfect marshmallow roasting stick.
Eat it nice and sharp. Yum, yum, yum. Oh no! Okay, it's caramelized. I actually kind of like it a little bit toasty.
Savage.
Oh. First s'more of the season.
The next morning, it was time to make our way to Big Trout Lake, but not before taking a small detour to Presqu'île Bay, where we discovered the most incredible display of thousands of water lilies in full bloom. And not to give too many spoilers, but perhaps you can already guess the subject of my next painting. After filling my camera roll with a million reference photos, we had a 2.6 kilometer portage. And some snacks.
Where are the Smarties? Thank you.
Before paddling to our next campsite, which ended up being my favorite of the entire trip. During these canoe trips, we spend a lot of time on the water, but for me, land exploration is just as important. What was so nice about going on this trip during a quite hot time of the year was that we did a lot of swimming. The water was so nice and refreshing, especially since we were so freaking sweaty all the time. But I didn't get any footage of that because bathing suits would have added to the weight of our gear, so we opted to go nude instead. And that is not appropriate for this channel. Every morning, my chats would get up before me and take down the food barrel, which we would hang in case any bears were lurking around the campsite, but in reality, it was actually to prevent our food from being eaten by these guys. We would then make our coffee and enjoy it with our breakfast, while observing the wildlife through my binoculars. Our last destination of the trip was Merchant Lake, which we took our time getting to because it was such a beautiful day and the lilies were just dazzling us once again. We did, in fact, not see any moose on this trip, unfortunately, but we did see a family of otters swimming and playing next to our campsite, which I did not get on camera because I was too busy living in the moment.
1/3 of the way done.
Nice.
We also saw a beaver, as you just saw, and plenty of evidence of beaver activity. For example, when we had to carefully drag our canoe over this dam. And now for a bit of reflection, if you'll allow me. Living in a different country than your family and friends is hard. There are the obvious reasons, like missing them all the time and the heartache of being far away from the people you're closest with. But there's also less obvious reasons, one of which I realized when planning this trip. When you only have so much time to take a vacation, how do you manage to balance the time you spend with family and the time you spend doing the things you want? The obvious answer is to do the things that you want with your family, except not everybody wants to do a 4-kilometer portage through a hot mosquito-infested forest, understandably. So I really had to battle some feelings of guilt when we decided to take 5 out of the 19 days back home to do this. But I guess you just have to make sure that when you choose to be a bit selfish sometimes, it's for a good enough reason. This trip was like a gift to my husband and I. It actually kind of was because we were celebrating our 2nd wedding anniversary, and canoeing is our favorite thing to do together. For me, working together as a team out in the wilderness is the best way to spend quality time. And on a personal level, it's the best way for me to refuel myself creatively. I had so much fun filming this video, so I really hope that you enjoyed it. And I really can't wait to share the painting that I'm working on that is inspired by this trip. And wow, it's quite the doozy. It's a big one. I haven't worked on something this big in a very long time. It's 80 by 120 centimeters. We have a lot to talk about. We have much to discuss. But that will have to come in a future video because I've got a lot of other stuff that I need to do in the meantime. So I'm hoping to get the painting done by the end of the month. And for your reference, it's currently November. I also feel like for some reason I need to address the fact that I got a haircut, so... Hey baby. I got a haircut. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope that you enjoyed a cup of tea while we hung out. I hope that you worked on something that you wanted to, something creative. I hope that now you feel a little bit more inclined to spend some time outside because you should. As always, I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. I'm Brooke Cormier, and I'll see you next time.